So earlier on, I talked about limit box extraction for the entire point cloud. So for example, say you're working on a very large project and you want to try and limit the amount of detail, as in well, I suppose not the amount of detail, I suppose the amount of file size or file space that you're taking up without having very much relevant data there. So what I mean by that is, like, when you zoom into a wall, you're getting millions and millions and millions of points. So a lot of that information, you don't need a point like literally every millimeter or every 1/16th of an inch on a wall surface. No, you want to keep the detail around where you have your piping, around where you have your ductwork and so on, or even your conduit. So for this example, we're going to do what is called limit box extraction, which will keep the detail. So again, we're going to go back to our registration tab, and we're going to go to the registration tab taskbar. We have the limit box extraction again. Here, this time we're going to do it by keep detail, and then we're going to put the point space in at about 0.125. So that's about maybe just over 30 mil per spacing. And we're just going to place it here on the center of the wall. Again, I'm locked in kind of my station view, so I want to get back out into my kind of isometric view. And I'm just going to bring it into this area over here. And this is the same for ground. Again, like, you have a lot of information on the ground that's taking up a lot of valuable space. And we're going to bring this up a slight bit more so we get a bit more detail. Maybe just out a little bit so where we have some of that conduit on the wall, like so. Now we're going to sample back this section of the point cloud. So once I'm happy, I have my spatial sampling keep detail selected. I'm going to hit the create button, and again it's going to take about a minute or so, and it's going to go through all the different station views that are looking at this particular section of my point cloud. So once that's complete, now I can close my box extraction dialog. I can go back to my production tab, and you can see here now I have a new object. For me to rename these objects, I'll just double click on them. So this is the all detail, let's say. And we can rename this one part detail. You can rename them to whatever makes most sense to you. So again, it's like similar to AutoCAD. I'm going to turn on this section of the point cloud and turn off the old one. And if we zoom in to it now, you can see how it's after sampling back our wall space as well as the ground, but it's after keeping the detail around our piping and so on. We had our conduit pipe here, and it's after keeping the detail around the actual conduit pipe and even the steel. So RealWorks is very clever in detecting flat planar surfaces. Again, it's a great tool to sample back your detail. You're looking, if I had 15 million points, if I had kept in the floor and kept in the walls as well too, I'd probably be looking at something that's 3-4 times the actual physical size of this point cloud. So if I'm passing this data onto a third party, to the foreman or anyone else out in the field, I normally will send them this point cloud rather than the entire point cloud, just because you're dealing with so much more detail and so many more points. It's going to take more processing time and so on. Again, if I am bringing this into any of the Autodesk products, I will normally select this part of the point cloud that I'm going to export out rather than the one that has all this information. You want to be clever when you're bringing in your point clouds into all the different applications. Again, for Edgewise, I would bring in this part of the point cloud versus the one that contains everything And there's a couple of other tips and tricks that I'll go through for some edgewise processing